Welcome to the Myers Report. I'm HSC Council Member George Myers, and we're here today at Community Action Council with the Executive Director Jack Birch. And we are here to talk about the budget cuts that the governor has proposed in the Childhood Assistance Program or Child Care Assistance Program at the state level. So Jack, could you first start out by giving us kind of an overview of not only the program, but the role that Community Action plays in Lexington as it relates to these programs?
Yes, but let me first start out by thanking you for getting the local government's attention to the problem.
Thank you.
It makes a big difference when local government can speak to an issue like this than those of us who are involved in it all the time. It's not a proposed cut. It has been signed off on. And there are two programs that are being cut. People often confuse them. One is kinship care, where if for some reason a parent is unable to take care of their child, they're incarcerated or some other tragedies going on, the state will provide financial assistance to grandparents who often cannot afford to take on that burden, so the child stays in the family. And the proposal is to eliminate kinship care.
Now let's talk about that for a second, because a couple of things about that don't make sense to me is, number one, the Cabinet's main goal has always been to keep families together.
That's correct.
And this funding was specifically put in place to help that happen.
That's exactly right. When they had a strategic plan process and they made that a goal, they set aside money to make sure that children stayed in their families.
And so if they take this funding away and a grandparent is not financially able then to take care of their grandchildren, then those children will end up in foster care or some other part of the cabinet.
Most likely foster care, but some children have to be institutionalized because there's nobody who will take them as a foster child. So.
Okay, which means those programs are going to cost even more to the taxpayer than kinship care.
They do cost more. Kinship care hardly takes care of the full cost for the child. It simply helps the grandparent, who's probably on a fixed income in most cases, with the extra expenses.
Okay, and I know that even the president talked about in the State of the Union address last night that every dollar that we spend in early childhood care saves us $7 on the back end in terms of high school graduation rates, incarceration rates, and all kinds of other things that people end up in the system needing help with.
There's no dispute about that. The research is there. It is solid. We do a lot of work on measuring outcomes on our work here. We know that always 90+ of the children that 4-year-olds who leave us are school ready. Children benefit from being in an environment that's designed and prepared to make them ready for the rest of their lives.
Sure, and we all know if you have any work at all with early childhood development, those first 3 years of life are phenomenally important for the development of a child's brain and their sort of aptitudes and their countenance and the way that they carry themselves.
Yeah, the brain research data is there, and there's no doubt about that. You surprised me earlier today, though, when you showed me some data on the huge difference in IQs of children who participate in a good early childhood experience and those who don't.
Absolutely, and we will put that up on the slide for people to see that at home. So now talk a little bit about the second half of that program that's being cut.
That's the Child Care Assistance Program. Kentucky said to low-income women when welfare reform occurred, if you will get training or an education and you will get a job, if your income is not sufficient to keep you above water, the state will do things to help you. And one of those things was to make sure you can get quality, affordable child care. We got to remember, these are parents who maybe net in a month $1,200. Quality child care costs about $500 a month. You don't have to do the math.
Right.
You know, you can't.
Right.
Then you can't afford to pay for the apartment and also the car and the gas and the food.
Sure. And so obviously we want parents to become productive members of society. That's why those changes were made in the welfare program, so that people were able to get an education or take on a job. that hopefully will transition them into a better paying job over time. And at that point in time, then they can take care of themselves completely and be self-sufficient. But if we take away this help along the way, then it seems like we're basically shooting ourselves in the foot.
We are, and I think we're breaking a promise we made. I recently at a meeting, in fact, down at Urban County Government, had one mom with tears in her eyes say, I did everything people asked me to do, and all of a sudden they're not keeping their side of the bargain.
And that's one thing that I've always been a stickler about is outcome measurements and making sure that if we ask someone to go through a program, that when they go through that program, they're better for having gone through it. And this is a situation, like you said, we've made a promise to people that if you do certain things, we'll be there to help you along the way so that you become self-sufficient. And so talk about the shock that has gone across the community in terms of how quickly this change will take place.
Well, it gives people no time really. On April 1, people will not even be allowed to apply for child care assistance. After April 1, if you already are receiving it and your anniversary for recertification comes up, you'll be allowed to continue, but they've cut the maximum income allowed by 33%.
Okay, explain that a little bit. So they changed the income requirements for being eligible for the program.
They pushed this down so low that we will rank 50th in the nation in terms of the maximum allowable income level allowed for child care.
Wow.
You know, we always say, thank God for Mississippi. I mean, people in Jackson are probably saying right now, thank God for Kentucky.
Right. So when we talk about a state that cares about and values education, and we all understand clearly, like you said, the evidence is there, the analytic data is there to substantiate that everything that we can do to help a child be ready to start school helps further their progress while they're in school and on throughout their life. I wonder what the superintendents across the country, across the state, are thinking about how this is going to impact their kindergarten classes and their first grade classes moving forward.
I've had discussions with superintendents over the years, and they all indicate that one of the ways to deal with the whole achievement gap is to make sure kids come in school ready. And they can take a look at the income of the families of the children coming in, because if they apply for a free lunch, they're low income.
Sure.
And they test children coming in, and they know which children had an early childhood experience and which ones didn't. And we're basically saying to them, we're going to put you right back where you were 20 years ago.
Right. So talk a little bit in the time we have remaining about what the folks listening can do to help change the governor's mind about the cuts that he's made.
I think people have to speak up loud and clear. Send emails. Make phone calls to the governor's office. There's a group of parents right now that are using paper bibs and writing notes on them and taking them to the state capitol. The governor has the power to change this. The governor can go look somewhere else in the $9 billion budget and find something else that, in many cases, could be delayed. A construction project, in most cases, it won't hurt to delay a new building for 2 years or 3 years.
Okay, and then what is Community Action going to do to help ensure that we can get this decision reversed?
We're doing a lot of work communicating with parents. We're building a statewide coalition. As you know, because we've asked you to come join us, we're going to speak before the Health and Welfare Committee of the General Assembly.
Yes.
I'm not going to stop until there's just absolutely nothing else we can do.
And I appreciate that. And let me just say that Jack called me a couple weeks ago when he first heard about this and asked me what I thought about it and would I help get involved. And I want to thank the Urban County Council. We did a resolution a couple of weeks ago that was passed unanimously, and the mayor is going to sign that, speaking to our state legislature that the city of Lexington is not happy with the cuts that they've made. And one of the things that I said in that conversation was that these cuts are not conducive with the values of the people of this great Commonwealth. And so we hope that the governor will listen, we hope that the legislature will listen, and that they will reverse this decision that's already been made. And we're going to take a break, and shortly we're going to come back and hear from a grandparent who will be negatively impacted by this decision, as well as a single father who will be negatively impacted by this decision. Welcome back to the Myers Report. Today we're standing here at Community Action Council with Ms. Doris Perkins.
Hi.
And Ms. Perkins, thank you for coming in today. I wanted to ask you a few questions about the governor's proposed cuts in child care. And which program are you involved in right now?
The kinship care.
The kinship care program. Could you explain a little bit about that program and what that means to you and your grandson?
Well, the kinship care helps me make sure that he gets the daycare, the clothes, the food, everything that he gets, kinship care helps me get. And in all honesty, without that program, I'm not sure how I can manage to do it and make sure that he gets, everything that he needs.
So if that cut happens as proposed by the governor, you have maybe a few different choices that you could entertain. And would you be able to continue working?
I do not see how I could continue to work. I don't work a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday job. I have two different sitters that Braylon goes to get what he needs so I can work. And without the kinship care, I'm not going to be able to afford to work.
Okay. So one of the other options would be foster care?
Ultimately, if I can't take care of him, he has to get what he needs. And if that meant foster care, then, that's last resort. But ultimately, it's all about protecting him and getting him what he needs. So if that's what it must be, then it must be.
And ultimately, what we're looking for, and I believe one of the cabinet's main missions, is to keep families together as long as possible when there's a viable opportunity to do that. And it sounds like to me that's what this program does for you.
Oh, 100%. My children are grown. I took care of them, and now I'm raising my grandson. And ultimately, that's what I want, is to keep him with his family.
Right.
But without the kinship care, I'm not sure if I can do that.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in today. And we are going to continue to work on this issue and see if we can get that changed so that the state government comes up with another solution to its budget problems.
Exactly. I think there's a lot more things that could be cut besides the programs that help those of us that didn't ask to be put in this situation in the first place.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Myers Report. We're here again at Community Action Council, and we have Mr. Michael Austin with us today. Thank you, Michael, for coming in.
Sir.
And we want to talk to you a little bit about the child care subsidy that you're getting to help educate your child. And just give us a little bit of background about yourself.
First of all, my name is Michael Austin, native of Lexington, Kentucky, born and raised here. I am a single father who recently last year obtained custody of my youngest son. Okay. And I also do support and help raise another child in another household as well. So I'm pretty busy as
Absolutely.
far as being a father.
Absolutely. And we like that, being a great, responsible father. And so the child care assistance program helps you how?
It actually provides daycare assistance for me during the day, so I'll be eligible to go to work, therefore to support family and whoever else I need to support underneath my roof. I do work awkward hours, so therefore it does help me out a lot with the daycare because, babysitters are hard to find these days.
Absolutely, and people that are competent that you trust with your child.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, if this subsidy that the governor is planning on cutting, if these cuts go through, how will that impact you and your son?
That really have a major impact. First of all, it have a major impact on the household as far as the bills and stuff getting paid. Because first of all, I wouldn't have a babysitter. Wouldn't be able to work my 40 hours a week. Therefore, the bills wouldn't be paid. The lights wouldn't be cut on. And first and foremost, I guess, support wouldn't be paid. So therefore, I'd be absent in my child's life because I'd be incarcerated if I didn't pay my child support.
Right.
So,
So this program enables you to be gainfully employed as well as be a father actively involved in your children's
Yes,
life.
sir.
And so I think we all know and understand the value of that.
Yes, sir.
And so we are going to continue to try to work with the state and ensure that the legislature does not follow through with the cuts that the governor plans on making.
Please.
Thank you again for coming in today,
Well, thank you.
and we appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. And that concludes today's council report, the Myers Report. And as you can see, we've got an issue here that's really important to our community. It's going to have a very negative economic impact to our community if parents have to leave their jobs or grandparents leave their jobs in order to be able to take care of their family members. But also it's going to create more problems down the road and more expense in dealing with the aftermath of this decision. We encourage you to get in touch with Community Action, to call your council members, also to call your legislators and the governor's office. Any opportunity you get to do that would be fantastic. And again, thank you for tuning into the Myers Report.